Hi, it's the No Vacancy News robot here again. The Taco Bell pop-up hotel featured 70 rooms for 4 nights and sold out in under 2 minutes. Pop-up is fun to say, isn't it?
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. Man, am I excited to be here today. In fact, I want to set your gear shift to the high gear of your soul because I am so excited for today's show. All right, to be fair, I'm excited every single week because it's great being able to build this community and having all of you folks on board. And a big thank you to Almo Hospitality for being such an incredible partner. And I would love for you guys to go to hospitality.almoproav.com right now because not only are they helping support this show, but they are going to help you save money because they're your go-to partner to simplify FF&E deployments for guest room and beyond with industry-leading brands, the latest hospitality trends, and distinctive new-to-market brands coupled with their specialized business development and hospitality-dedicated sales teams. Remember, they're a division of Almo Corporation, the nation's largest independent distributor of professional AV gear, consumer electronics, major appliances, outdoor furniture, housewares, and more. And if you guys aren't yet subscribed to our different series over here, be sure you go over to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and all of those sites where you get your shows and subscribe to the No Vacancy podcast feed, or checking in with Anthony and Glenn, which of course I do with Anthony Melchiori of Hotel Impossible fame, the Hotel Design Podcast, and on this feed itself, you get the Hotel Tech Podcast, the Business of Hotels Podcast, and lots of special programming now. So, all right. So I want to talk about a couple of crazy things that are going on out there in the hospitality universe, stuff that's moving consumer trends forward, as well as one other particular consumer issue that's going on right now, which is very strange, very bizarre, and I don't know what to make of it. And that's why we have Miss Rebecca Alesia, travel consultant with SmartFlyer, and I got to say, she's one of the most productive, fantastic, helpful travel consultants out there on the market. Rebecca, how are you?
I'm good, Glenn. Are you speaking from personal experience about my services?
I am speaking from personal experience about your services. For those of you who came onto the show a little bit late, I got to find a way to use you again, Rebecca. But 2 years ago, you helped me plan the ultimate Israel vacation. I was gone for almost 2 whole weeks, and I couldn't have done it without you. And I got to say, Rebecca, some of the experiences that we had on there, I would never have thought of, I would never have found, and I would never have become some of the best memories of my entire life without you. For heck, man, I got to go on an archaeological dig and pull stuff out of the ground that was over 2,000 years old, Rebecca. I got to go in a four-wheel ATVing on the border of Syria through a burned-out military base. I got to go rafting down the Jordan River and so much more. So thanks for everything there, man. And she didn't even pay me for that plug.
Well, I do appreciate it. I mean, it is all about the moments, right? Those are the things that add up to make our trip special.
You know, it really is, Rebecca, and that's one of the things that I wish I could do a better job at. I'm so focused on work, day to day, trying to build this business, trying to feed my family, that sometimes I forget that it's really important to make real connections with my kids again, with my spouse again. And when you get to go away on a great vacation like that, everything else drops aside and you really remember what's most important in our lives, and that is our family.
That's absolutely true. I think leisure time is more important than ever because we're all so plugged in constantly all day long, and it tends to really disconnect us as a family. So when you take this time away and you're able to disconnect from work, that leads to really deeper and more meaningful family time. And those are the things that are really, at the end of the day, going to matter.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to try to take off a week in August this year, and I have no idea what we're going to do yet. So maybe throughout this conversation, when we start to talk about a little bit more about some of the trends that you see out there and how you're helping folks that are an exciting new program find the perfect vacation for them, maybe we'll get to the bottom of this, Rebecca. But before we get into that, I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to talk to you about the craziness that seems to be happening in the Dominican Republic, where at least already 10 tourists have died after visiting resorts or in a hospital immediately following resort stays in just the last year. This is a pretty scary stuff that folks are falling dangerously ill on vacation. And I bet for a travel consultant such as yourself, there are a lot of folks freaking out right now and trying to figure out what they're going to do about their upcoming vacations.
For sure. And I'll start by saying that my family has gone to Punta Cana and Dominican Republic on multiple occasions, and it is a beautiful.
And I want to go there.
And you should, because it has it sort of checks the boxes. It has the white sand beaches. It has really great family resorts, a lot of adventure activities and things to do. The resorts there are really great in terms of their service level. So, when these things happen and it's not the first destination that had sort of media attention get focused on, it does sort of seem to snowball where you can't pick up your tablet or your phone without reading some kind of a story about Punta Cana. And so what happens is I get clients reach out to me. The first question, they all ask it the same way. Everyone's like, it's being blown out of proportion, right? That's the first question, because everybody at this moment in history knows that you can't 100% trust everything you read on the internet.
I think that's pretty incredible, because I would have gone the other way, that people are just calling with sheer panic, believing everything they're reading, because when it comes to personal safety, I think sometimes we don't see things clearly. So that's really great to hear that people are understanding that what they read may not be what's really happening.
Well, I happen to have a pretty educated and savvy client base, so that it may be that my sampling tends to really think and analyze. But in any event, the first conversation that I have with people about this, and anyone who's been traveling over the summer certainly has called and said, should we consider rescheduling? Should we consider changing our destination? And this is what it's about, Glenn. Forget whether there is an actual or perceived issue. Even if it's only in your mind as the traveler, you are not going to be able to relax on vacation. Every sip that you take, every bite that you put on your plate, it's going to be in the back of your mind. So I tell people, look, let's not get too deep into it about whether it's an actual or perceived threat. If you have an uncomfortable feeling, and this would be the same whether it's a Caribbean destination or a European destination, I think we should look at someplace else for you.
Right. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, because why have any worry going into a vacation, right? Because it's just, we don't get to travel too much. Crap, I haven't taken a family vacation in almost 2 years at this point, so I just want everything to be perfect and relaxed and calm. So what are you doing? What are some of these folks doing that just don't want to go to Dominican Republic right now, that are saying maybe we'll go back next year once everyone kind of figures out what's happening over here?
Well, and it is a tough call from a sensitivity perspective. I mean, I really do have close relationships with the hotels and resorts I work with in Punta Cana. And I want to be careful to say that, I am continuing to book my own travel there, and that I really believe that they will come out of this vindicated. But to answer your question, when someone contacts me, so for the immediate future over the summer, the airlines have been waiving some change fees. Not all of the airlines, but most of them have. I think that they have the same opinion that I do, which is, look, it's your leisure time. You get to pick how you spend it. It's supposed to be relaxed and enjoyable. And if this is making it impossible for you to relax and enjoy, let's look elsewhere. So for people that have their plans over the summer, it's been a little bit easier. We've gotten the change fees waived for the most part, and we've relocated them to different island destinations.
That's great. I really hope that the country can figure this out, because I can imagine if this continues to go on, and it seems like the negative information coming out through the press is becoming more frequent at this point. I'm very worried about what's going to happen to their economy. It's such a great place to be. I've never heard anyone that doesn't love going down there. So I hope in the end they can figure out what this mystery is, give people a satisfying answer, and then we can get back onto traveling over there without any worries. So I'm curious, Rebecca, there's a lot of changes that are going on right now with Virtuoso, with SmartFlyer. They also you also now have something called Wanderlist, which is a brand new program that you're offering. And man, when it started, I don't know if it's expanded now, but it just started recently. You're only one of 15 in the entire country that had access to this incredibly interesting new program.
That's true, and
wow.
I am so excited about this program. And
well, hold on, Rebecca. Let me compliment you just a little bit more before you start talking about the program, because how amazing. 1 of 15 of the thousands and thousands of folks that must be doing what you're doing around the country. So an incredible accomplishment for you to be accepted into this incredible program. All right, now that I've kissed your patootie enough, let's hear all about it.
Well, thank you for that. I truly believe, and that's why I applied to be part of the beta class to learn how to execute Wanderlist. I truly believe that this is something that's going to ultimately change the way that we plan travel. And here's what it is. So what Virtuoso found was that a majority of clients had what we all colloquially refer to as a bucket list.
Yep.
And what does that mean? When you really think about bucket lists, you're saying, these are things I'm going to get to at some point, places I'm going to get to at some point before I die. Yep. I mean, this is a crazy way to plan important travel for you. Simultaneously, we have an increase of people that are planning travel to mark important life events, like your family bar mitzvah, people's sweet 16s, golden anniversaries, honeymoons, all of these things that you really can sort of put out there and tie each one to a destination that you want to go to. Mm-hmm. So we want to get people to go from conceptualizing a bucket list to someplace I'll get to sometime to I'm going to go there in April of 2022. And we're going to help people to do that. So what is Wanderlist? It starts with a year-long advisory service between the travel advisor and the client. The client we have an online portal sort of similar to a Netflix queue, where we're going to give you every destination you can imagine globally and every experience you could possibly come up with globally. And I'm talking about some of the things that you mentioned that you loved on your trip, which were the archaeological digs, but there's also all different kinds of food tasting, chocolate, coffee, beer, wine, all kinds of adventure activities, ATVs and zip lines and hot air ballooning, and shopping for textiles or food or liqueurs, all these different things. And as the client, you get to go through this queue together with your family, and everybody fills out their own profile with thumbs up, I want to do it, thumbs down, I don't, I've done it before. And when it's all done, first of all, we're having people tell us that they had no idea that their kids, because kids 11, 12, 13, 14, my son had Japan on his list. I never knew he wanted to go to Japan.
Yeah, funny you should say that, because we, as I mentioned earlier, that we're looking to do a family vacation sometime in August. And we have been fighting about where we want to go, because nobody could seem to agree on it. We've been talking about Japan. The boys and I want to go to Japan. My wife would prefer to go somewhere else. So we've been fighting about it. I love the idea of working with someone such as you to find a commonality that we may or may not have realized that we were all interested in going to.
Well, that is exactly what this is going to do for you. So at the end of this sort of curation phase, which you would really undertake with your family, and it's a very fun interactive experience. The queue has videos and playlists and fiction and nonfiction things to read about each destination. So once that's all done, we now have an analytics software that's going to process it in conjunction with my skills and give you both an online as well as a hard copy, beautiful coffee table book of the top destinations where your family has crossover, the activities that you want to do there, the important life events coming up in your life that you know are happening. And here's really something that nobody else has, how we can save you money by planning the different destinations at different time points.
Interesting.
It's incredible. So you will never again be in a situation, Glenn, where you're saying, Rebecca, August is only 60 days away and I don't have anything planned, because we will already know where you're supposed to be going in August.
All right. Thank you for reminding me about I only have 60 days to plan this thing. Not even, quite honestly, because I want to go away in August. So I'm really in big trouble over here. So let me kick it out to everyone in the audience. Where should I go with my family this summer? What the heck? Let's crowdsource some ideas here, and then I'm going to go into some intense preparations with Rebecca and see if your ideas match the list that we come up here within my family. So find me online at Traveling Glenn. Of course, you can find NoVacancyNews.com. Connect with me there, or anywhere on social media as at Traveling Glenn. So Rebecca, what is the initial response that you're getting so far to the folks that have already engaged you in utilizing the Wanderlist program?
Well, the first thing, as I said to you, is that we're noticing people are really connecting with their children and finding out what their kids are interested in. So, Disney would be like a natural thing. But as I said to you, so my son selected Japan. Another client's
child. Yeah, because it's on our list again for this summer, but I don't want to fall that because I feel like that's the default. So your son then has Japan on the list. So now you don't have to go back to Disney, right?
That's a part of it, but it's also asking them why. What is interesting?
Why? Interesting. Okay, cool.
And so, he said, well, Mom, at Grandma's house, they have a painting up on the wall that's on rice paper, and I know it's from Japan, and I've always wondered about it. So, we never knew that piece of art was like quietly impacting him.
Right.
And it gives you an insight into their personality, and it's a conversation, a long-term process and conversation that really sort of makes travel more meaningful. The other part that I really like about Wanderlist is that it can be given as a gift. It's a great gift idea for honeymooners or for a retiree or for a special anniversary gift because, sometimes with our parents, it's hard to buy for them. Like they've had their whole lifetime to accumulate stuff. Right. But giving them a travel plan is something that you can do. And it's unique and special, and they won't have been able to get it anywhere else.
That's pretty awesome. So anything else that's important to mention about the program? It sounds like you've got it pretty well covered at this point.
Absolutely, and we have some videos on it, and you don't mind me giving a plug for my website?
That was going to be the next thing. I'd love for people to get engaged in all of this. I think it's such an interesting and unique idea. And for our audience, let me connect it to some of the bigger trends that we're seeing right now in the hospitality industry. You already know that since the Great Recession, we've turned from a materialistic society here in the United States more to an experiential society. Yeah. You go on the YouTube and you got the younger people showing off how rich they are and all that kind of stuff. But the fact is, we all want to have memories. And that bucket list is such an important thing for us to really focus on going. So it doesn't surprise me that services like this are starting to pop up because they bring you closer to crafting that incredible travel experience. So for hoteliers out there, for travel folks out there, I want you to think about better ways that you can connect with your potential audience through services such as Wanderlist to really understand what experiences people are truly trying to find in their lives to accentuate their travel experience. So Rebecca, tell us a little bit more about those videos and where we can find you.
Absolutely. So, Glenn, what the one place you don't want to visit is, right?
I don't want to stay here on Long Island. I know that much.
It's Regret. Regret is the worst place to visit, man.
No, that place sucks.
That's the goal of all of this, is to get people to make sure that the bucket list can become a reality. So to learn more about Wanderlist and what we're doing with it, again, it's a Virtuoso program, first of its kind globally. It's been written up in Bloomberg. We're being featured on a bunch of different media and news outlets. You can visit my website, which is www.wanderology. That's Wander, W-A-N-D-E-R, ology, OLOGIE.com, or you can find me on social media at Wanderology Luxury Travel Experiences. And we have some videos about it. We have some PowerPoints you can scroll through, some neat graphics, and I'd be glad to speak to anybody and walk you through the process.
Right, and I hope that you guys go ahead, you walk through that process, you do it, and maybe go watch the movie The Bucket List from 2007 for a little inspiration with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman. Believe it or not, I think that's where the term actually came from, which is strange because I thought it had been around forever and ever. But what the heck do I know? All right.
I'm not sure about the origination, but it's definitely we want to move those things from a wish list to an action plan.
Yeah, I think that we spend too much time in our lives thinking about what we could do as opposed to actually doing it, and don't visit the world of regret like Rebecca says out there, go out, go do it, have that vacation. I got to get my act together. I got to plan a vacation. But even if I do vanish on vacation, don't worry, everybody. I've still got plenty of great content that you'll be getting all summer long. So, Rebecca, thank you so much for being here today.
It's always so much fun to visit with you, Glenn. Thanks
It's been too long. We got to get you on soon. So we'll be right back after this break. But until then, I'm going to start thinking about all those great times that I had on my summer vacation and planning my next one. All right. See you guys back here in 60 seconds.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. So listen, the extended stay market accounts for 8.6% of the U.S. lodging supply, and it's been growing steadily since 2013. That explains why Red Roof has entered this market with their Hometown Studios by Red Roof product last year. Well, listen, this year at AHOA, Red Roof unveiled the first prototype of the new build concept for Hometown Studios. So, from the company that obsessively listens to their guests comes a brand new design based on consumers' #1 request: more functional storage in the bedroom and bath, but not at the expense of good design. As Red Roof's Chief Development Officer Phil Yu told me, Hometown Studios is all about aesthetically pleasing properties underpinned by cost-effective construction and economically sourced materials that allow us to deliver modern functional hotels that exceed guest expectations for an extended stay property. Listen to that whole interview. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it at novacancynews.com. But it's a topic that is so important, and you really should be focused on Hometown Studios. What's more, for hoteliers looking to reposition, the new designs can be adapted to enhance existing hotels. And franchisees get Red Roof's significant brand awareness, their seasoned management team, and Ready Rewards, a richest in-class loyalty program with nearly 3 million members. And that just happens to be the least expensive program for owners. Plus, if you ask Red Roof's franchisees, they'll tell you genuine relationships, real results. It isn't just some slogan, it's how Red Roof does business. Get in on the new way to extended stay and visit redrooffranchising.com or call them at 888-473-8861.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, of course, your host, Glenn Hausman. Now, this is going to be a fun and different type of interview. As you guys know, I speak to a lot of folks that are U.S.-based, and in the last couple of years, I've been getting over to Europe and doing a lot more conversations. And one area that really struck me is, gosh, I haven't really spoken to a lot of folks from management companies in Europe. And I thought it would be really fun to talk to a company that's doing great business overseas to see what they're doing maybe that's a little differently strategically than all of you folks are doing here in America. And then I want to talk a little bit about what it's like for a company in Europe to want to come over here to the United States. Now, I know a lot of you companies are focused on European expansion, interstate. I'm looking at you guys, for example. So I think this is going to be a fun back and forth. So to bring us through, I've got the co-founder of Xotels, Remko West. They're a hotel management and asset management firm that has a great focus on revenue management. Remko, how are you, sir?
Doing good, Glenn. Thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks for speaking to me today. You're coming at us all the way from Brussels. How cool is that?
Correct. Yeah. Well, Brussels, it's very cool. It's kind of cold, actually, over here.
Yeah. Well, as we're recording this, it's the very end of May as we're recording this here, and I'm in New York, and the weather here is stinky. I actually just had my heater on, if you could believe that. It was so chilly over here, but we're not here. This is not hot weather talk. This is hotel management talk. So, Remko, maybe you could tell me a little bit about the history of Xotels, what really made you get into this business, and even before that, were you a hotelier originally?
Real quick, we started Xotels back in 2006, so a bit over a decade ago. Yes, I was originally a hotelier. You're based in New York. I used to work in New York for ISG, as a matter of fact, on 48th and Lexington. And so did my business partner, by the way. He worked for Ian Schrager, also in New York. Yes, originally a hotelier, even a hotel management education, the whole 9 yards. I left the States myself a little bit after 9/11, really, a couple of months after. Got back to Europe, and not much longer, I ended up at a company that had already made a big ruckus in the States, Hotels.com.
Right.
But they were super tiny in Europe.
This is 2001, late 2001, early 2002. At the time.
Exactly.
So let me just explain for folks that haven't been around as long as we have, right? Right after 9/11, particularly in the United States, travel completely evaporated. I remember, and it was so scary and so different. I remember speaking to the CEO of Hilton at the time, Steve Bolenbach, and he had a meeting with some journalists, and they were all just like, "We don't know what we're going to do. This is a new universe for us." And what happened is part fear, part lack of technological sophistication. They allowed all of these OTAs to start to come into the business, and that's kind of where Hotels.com came from. Expedia started to grow, and all of those companies started to grow. All right, so I set the stage for you, Remko. Please continue.
Yeah, so I was part of that growth. I mean, it was a worldwide downturn in terms of the economy, and obviously
it's crazy.
Economical downturn means that hotels struggle for business, and indeed any economical downturn or low season was and still is a space for any new provider, or even, I mean, the internet is not new anymore, but
it was like fresh and new back then. Yeah, we had already been through the big surge of tech companies that all evaporated around the time of the millennium, but it was still like a decade before smartphones, for example. So we were really in the infancy of where this is all going.
No, exactly. And I have to say, I mean, you said the beginning years of the internet, but I was in New York on 9/11. I was there on the days on the 13th of September, where indeed we only had 5% occupancy, and they were all firemen.
Right.
And that was it. So opportunity over there, but the internet really was around already in the States, and the big boys, Expedia, Hotels.com, they were already super present, maybe with the names of Travelocity and Hotel Reservation Network, but they were all there, and that backbone did obviously help us over here in Europe. But yeah, I started in 2002. In Paris, and no matter where we went, nobody would buy what we said. Everybody would say this is a bubble, and we had a different belief. And we were small here; we were just a couple of guys running around in Europe. But everywhere where we did get in, we brought a lot of business. So it was the business, the growth, the way of doing business, being able to invent a lot of things, being able to change a lot of things because the company was still so small. Was not only a great learning opportunity, but it was also fantastic fun, and we really had a massive footprint in no time in Europe.
Did you know it at the time that it was a special time in your life and career when you were building that part of the business, or is it only something that you learned in retrospect?
At the time, I realized a couple of things. One, it was super exciting, right? If you can walk into a hotel that's basically struggling, and where you walk out, and a day later there is a pile of faxes, still back in the days, 100 faxes with new reservations. The deal that you just negotiated on their desk, and they call you like, "What happened?"
Right.
I told you so.
Right. That's amazing. That's a great
feeling. You know it's special. Yeah, you know it's special. You know it's exciting. But in hindsight, and I've had a couple of these opportunities in my career, in hindsight, I realized more that I was there at the right time. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bit more special, and the learning curve was a bit more, a bit steeper.
All right. Yeah. So how then did you get into creating a management company from that point?
So 2005, a year after Expedia, Hotels.com merged, I was kind of done. Then I had to be politically correct, and that's never been my forte. And I left the company. Then I joined a company called Ray Tiger, also based out in New York.
Yeah, I remember them.
We all our roots go back to New York, really. Ray Tiger by Max, and we started up this channel management thing, which was really meaningless in the States, but in Europe it was huge because there were so many different players, OTAs, out here that were offering business to hotels. Hotels had no clue how to manage it, and there we were. We said, hey, you can manage all these guys at the same time. And we could really, in terms of technology, only manage a couple. But that was all we needed. And from there on, we started building. I mean, the theory was there. The technology existed, and we just built super fast. I mean, we contracted, I think, thousands of hoteliers in a matter of 12 months or so, because the need was so humongous here in Europe. And there was nobody in that space yet. We were competing with TravelClick, really. And that was it.
Wow.
And yeah, so that company grew really fast in a really short period of time. We kept a long-lasting relationship with that company. The relationship really lasted for about 8 or 9 years. But it was a freelance type of relationship, and that worked really well for both parties, I'd like to think. But in 2006, we feared that it's time to do something that should be for us, right? And when I say we, I'm talking myself and my business partner. And we came up with the idea to launch a hotel management company. The fun part was neither one of us had a clue on how to start.
Sounds delightful.
Yeah. So we just can I curse on this podcast?
Yeah, we'll just put in an explicit.
You can
label on it.
Yeah. We just had the balls to do it.
Oh, that's hardly cursing. Come on, I thought you were a New York guy. Come on, forget about it. You can do better than that.
Yeah. And we just went for it. We started from scratch. We had nothing. We had enough cash flow with our freelance efforts to build another company, and there we went. And we really didn't know what to do. We were pretty decent at revenue management. We had a pretty decent understanding of e-commerce and marketing, and we just went for it. We started selling our knowledge, and it was also very US-based knowledge, and that kind of works because the US is always a couple of steps ahead of Europe.
Now, that's what we like to believe, for sure.
Yeah, and it's a fact. And anybody that denies it is full of shit.
There you go.
It's always the case. And we started giving seminars, really. Well, again, we attracted a bunch of guys, all chain guys from the hotels, high level, all corporate guys. We started giving seminars about revenue management, and it was really, the dream was to start a hotel management company, but again, we had no clue where to start. And then you get the things, well, we could start with the CRS, or we're not going to start spending money. Let's make money first, and from there on go step by step.
Right.
And that's exactly what we did. The challenge is our services in terms of consultancy and seminars, they sold tremendously well. We gave about, if I recall correctly, 70 to 80 seminars a year.
Wow.
Mainly in Europe, and then a couple in Asia Pacific, and some stuff even in the States. In the meantime, in 2007, we gained our first management client. Back in, and then we had the crisis in 2008-9. Hit us real bad because everything that was services, so everything that's education, everything that was seminars, that hit us like a rock. And
I hear you are. You think you're building this great business, you're feeling all good about stuff, and just a couple of years in, the entire global economy drops into this great recession, which kind of had to make you rethink everything.
Absolutely everything. The only client that we had in terms of management, we lost it at the end of 2008. They're back, by the way. 15 months later, they came back to us, but we lost them. They settled an agreement with us, but they came back to us.
So before we go on, I gotta understand, what is your mindset at this point? And the reason why I ask you is because we all go through a lot of challenges in our lives, and I think we have a tendency to feel like we're the only ones that are suffering right now, right? And it can be very scary. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm 3 years into trying to build this business. I got a lot of challenges, and sometimes I wake up feeling super confident. Sometimes I wake up, crying for my mommy, right? So what is your mindset at that point? Do you feel defeated? And if so, how do you get past that in order to continue to fight the good fight and get to the place that you envisioned you wanted to be?
It was a great question. There was a couple of things. And if you want to understand this a bit deeper, maybe you read it already if you're 3 years into your podcast.
Yeah.
If you haven't read it, please do. It's called The Dip by Seth Godin.
Uh-huh.
It's an excellent book. And it tells you exactly what happens to everybody.
That's a great question.
That's running a business.
All right, I'm, I'm writing that down now.
3 year gap, yeah. But yeah, there was a realization. I mean, we lost, give or take, 80% of our revenues in a year time. And we took massive pay cuts, all of us. Our staff took pay cuts for us. I mean, it was a moment to be proud of. But it was also a moment that we realized I don't think the book was out yet back in the day.
Right.
But we realized we had to change. And we did, because we'd been educating about social media, right? We were telling everybody, we were not talking about Facebook, but we were talking about MySpace back in the days, right? 2007. Mm-hmm. And how exciting that was. And we were standing in front of rooms. Who's got a MySpace account?
Right.
Nobody did. Nobody did. Nobody knew what YouTube was.
Right.
It just launched in 2006. And we were having fun and explaining what was behind it and the vision and what we expected was going to happen. The thing was, we were talking about the theories and not doing enough. We were testing and playing with it, but always at client's name. And it was the moment that we realized, no, we need to do this ourselves as well. This is the future. We need to do this. And if there is a time to do it, it's now, right? We must change right now. We realized very quickly, I mean, it didn't take us very long, that everything that touches education, human resources in hotel industry, the moment economy goes down, those budgets, they're locked up first.
Right.
So we realized we could not ever rely on that again. So we decided almost immediately, well, I'm saying immediately, obviously it took us a couple of months, but we decided, okay, we're going to put an end to this and we're going to focus on what we want. And very quickly we decided, listen, the blogging thing that we've been talking about, we need to do this, right? The social media thing, we need to do this. And we had the structure in place, but we were not doing it actively.
Wow!
And
but you were really a pioneer at this point, because the major hotel companies, for example, weren't even thinking about social media. I think it was still the era of mostly having, you could book a room online, but a lot of it felt like they were brochures as opposed to a real interactive type of experience.
Yep. Yeah. I didn't realize very much that I was pioneering back in the day, but I have clients nowadays that tell me the stories that you told then, I only realized in 2012 how meaningful they were, right? Which is like 5-6 years later. And but we were not actively enough applying everything that we were explaining to hoteliers to our own company. And beginning of 2009, it was the moment that we said, okay, we got to do this. And what we did is all the content that we had built in terms of education, we started putting it online. Great. And you can still find it until today. It's all on our blog, in our books, and we focused on an online marketing strategy. We had figured out this: if we're going to be successful, we're not going to be successful by being local entrepreneurs and one-man show or two-man shows. It's not going to work. We went all in. We made a big bet and just changed everything in terms of the way we were doing, and everything just fell into place. Beginning of 2010, as I mentioned, the one management client that we had lost, they came back. We signed 3 or 4 management deals almost in 1 month.
Wow.
So it's the mindset. It's not just mindset that comes into play. It's everything changes. And back in the day, we just knew that it was tricky. We fought for every penny that we could get our hands on. But we figured out how to do it successfully, and we figured out how to change the company, and we did it, and it was the key to what we are today, and everything that we decided to do back then, we're still doing it. It's just become massive, over time.
Yeah, and Xotels these days, you can find them in the Netherlands, Belgium, France, UK, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Switzerland, Czech Republic, Greece, even Georgia, and in Africa, in Tanzania. That's pretty amazing. And I'm sure I missed some places, but pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But when we're talking Georgia, we're talking former Soviet Republic, not United States Georgia. Just to be
correct,
clear.
Batumi.
Yep. Okay, so how many properties have you gotten yourselves up to that you're managing now? And I say that so we could, frame the next part of the conversation.
We're closing in on 90 properties
Woo!
right now.
That's pretty awesome. So you're doing a great job over there. So now the interesting thing about the European market versus the United States market is you still have independent and boutique hotels versus branded hotels. So I'm curious as to know what it's like, the differences in operating hotels in Europe versus the United States, or does it even matter what the flag is? People are all the same. You let me know.
Yeah, good question. Because again, I stay away from the chains, so it's
Right.
a hard time to tell you. The days that I worked in chains, they're long gone. What I'd like to think, and I think this is global. It's a global principle. Chains work according standards, and they try to possibly reinvent them. Right? It wouldn't be the first time that chains launch initiatives, new brands. But if you look at the way they work from the inside out, right? Staff, how they manage themselves commercially, how the systems work, et cetera, with chains, it's always a push from the top. This is the standard, and here's a package, and here's how you operate your property, right? We do the exact way, the bit the other way around. And we do that everywhere. We start with management, and that's a very flexible start, right? Because you cannot get more flexible than management. We start with management, so anything that we want to change, we can change. Anything, if we want to change the system, we can change the system. If we want to if we want to do a free flow check-in, meaning that there's no reception, we can do that.
Right. So it's a difference between being able to follow what you feel is the right thing to do, instead of having to operate within a series of mandates that you didn't create.
Yeah, exactly. So it's operating versus operating according standards versus completely freely operations. Right. That's really it in the end.
Right. All right. So what I find super interesting to me is you seem to be really very far ahead of the revenue management discipline before a lot of other companies are. I feel like we're starting to focus here in the United States in particular on revenue management only in the last 4 or 5 years or so. It's here in the U.S. It's been kind of like anyone can handle revenue management until recently, when they all of a sudden realize, oh, this is a legitimate job, it's a career path, and it's smart people that can help us make more money. But you were right there. What made you understand that heightened emphasis on revenue management was as critical as understanding the operational side of the business?
Well, revenue management to me, it's just a word, right?
Right.
Revenue is as much as income. It's and you're managing income, so you can manage income in a lot of ways for a business, and you can optimize income in a lot of different ways. So I do believe, and I'm not certain if I agree, that in the States only in the last 5 years there's been an emphasis on revenue management.
Right.
Because when I was in the States back in 99, 2000, there was a lot of revenue management going on in New York. Revenue managers, they were showmasters in New York. They were running everything.
That's cool.
What's behind it? I believe in revenue management is just it's smart entrepreneurs, smart commercial guys that understand how to run a business, that understand that revenue management is not just about data analysis and actioning on what comes out of the data. It's not about the black and white and being able to distinguish that. It's a huge combination. Are the numbers part of it? Absolutely. It's what makes good revenue managers so much smarter than most hoteliers, right? They're very focused. They can read the performance of an organization in black and white numbers. and they understand everything that's running behind all these radars. That's great for revenue management.
Right.
But at the same time, it's also understanding how to work with OTAs, right? Truly understanding what OTAs want from you, truly understanding what they're out for, what interests they have, which interests may be conflicting with yours, and how to deal with that, right? And how to come out as a winner. And using the principles that they're trying to apply in direct sales and marketing strategies. Things like that. It's understanding that income is also largely influenced by your property's operational staff.
Right.
The way they speak to people, the way they smile at people, the way they receive them. Is it personal or is it standardized, and would they rather be doing something else? So all those elements. There are so many radars behind revenue management that I believe it's about having a commercial center in your organization and understanding who to steer, what makes sense, what's going well, what's not going well. It's understanding revenues, profits, and not at all times, but ideally, right? You do optimize, but you do understand these elements as a revenue director. So again, revenue management, it's been increasing in popularity for decades. Were we out there as revenue management company very early in the yes, I think so. Yeah, right. We may be one of the first on the globe that were really promoting revenue management.
I definitely, I think so. And you guys created the Hotel Science Revenue Management System as part of Xotels, correct?
Correct. Yeah. We started that. I've been looking at revenue management systems because of our specialization in revenue management. I've been looking at revenue management systems for a long time. Been working with a lot of different revenue management companies for a long time. And I just felt the time was right for something slightly different, something slightly more affordable, especially for smaller properties, right? Which you would probably refer to as independents. But smaller properties, and just I've got a vision on revenue management that I was missing in a lot of other systems out there.
Yeah. Excellent. So, I think a lot of the European hotels that we're talking about have a smaller room count than a typical American hotel.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Right.
Yep.
So you got to be a little bit more careful on the money that you're bringing in to maximize your opportunity there when you have a limited pool of rooms.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, what is going on in Europe versus the United States in terms of the hotel market, and how does that make you excited about entering the U.S. market? And how are you going to do that anyway?
Well, we've been in the U.S. market for quite some time, both with management and with technology.
Great.
Well, technology really is only a couple of years old, so not that long. But
in internet years, it's forever. So, you know.
Yeah, but we've been managing a couple of properties in the States. Unfortunately, only in Miami Beach, to be very specific.
Poor you.
And then some in the Caribbean, and Mexico, which obviously is not the States, but. Well,
yeah. Don't worry. Americans
similar
consider
time zones.
Americans consider the Caribbean the States anyway, even though it's not.
The differences, in the end, I am not convinced that just specifying the content of the continent, is enough to specify the difference. I am a true believer that every single property is different. I manage properties from the same owner that are just across the street from each other. Okay? Yet they behave completely differently. And every property, I mean, wherever I go, whether I go to, as I mentioned, Miami Beach, or to the Caribbean, or whether I go into the French Alps, or to Barcelona, Amsterdam, or London, doesn't matter. Everybody asks me, do you have experience in this market? Do you understand what's going on? So I don't need to know that. The data will tell me. And that's where it starts, right? Revenue management, it all originates with data that come forth out of sales. Revenue management, the cool part of revenue management is we look at the future first, right? So the absolute core of running a business at the very end is getting sales in, right? There's no business that's going to survive if there's no sales. And that's in the end what revenue managers manage, and what they understand. They get the data that that allows them to understand what's going on in the business. And again, the location does not create a difference over there. It doesn't.
Right.
So whether the approach is always similar, whether it's in New York, Miami,
it's math,
else.
Not culture, that you have to really focus on.
Yeah, and obviously culture does play a role, but that's more for physical presence.
Yeah, right.
If you want to.
Right, yeah, when you're thinking about the amenities and stuff, but when you're talking about actually driving that business, it really comes down to the data. Now, technology is exploding, and all we talk about these days is machine learning, artificial intelligence, and all of these different opportunities that you may have in order to be able to dig even deeper into data and find opportunities that were not previously possible. Have you started to think about incorporating some of these other tools in order to give you a, more of a crystal ball vision instead of just seeing like what's going on a piece of paper that you would normally look at 5 years ago,
Yeah, I'm not too convinced yet. I mean, I'm in it myself. So artificial intelligence and machine learning, it's all good. It's not necessarily about understanding deeper and understanding more detail.
Right.
I would like to think that it's actually, hopefully, going to create understanding more high level and a smoother understanding, right? What really makes sense business wise? Why do we keep focusing on details if they don't really impact our end results? Why do we keep pushing rates up and down if in the very end you are more or less always at the same rate level? Is that tweaking really, really necessary, or are you disrupting experiences? And in this case, might be the experience of a revenue manager, for example, right? Yeah. But the same, for that matter, goes to consumer technologies. I'm a believer that technology still, till today, interrupts us more often than it actually helps us. Right?
Yes, and I've seen studies that prove we think that we're being much more productive. But every single time you look at your freaking cell phone, it takes you out of your head for doing whatever your other jobs are, and it takes longer to accomplish all those tasks because you need to get back into what I would call the zone, right?
Yep. Yeah, and it's most people know nowadays cell phones and computers, they're addictive, right? They're made to draw your attention towards them, and that's for every type of technology.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I was just looking at my phone. Nah, just kidding. But yeah, I mean, that's really how it is. I mean, you sit there and you compete with people and you're trying to have a conversation with them and they keep looking at their phone. They're so connected to their phone. I'm not going to say that I'm any better than anyone else. I do that sometimes too, but it is something you need to get past in order to really find more success and concentration.
Exactly. And it interrupts you, right?
Yeah.
It interrupts your way of thinking, but it also interrupts everything that we're doing. And I believe that technology is too often the focus, right? Instead of that, it's used as the means to create a smoother experience, right? Or an actual smarter tool.
Right. So it's technology for technology's sake, as opposed to utilizing elements of technology to create better experiences. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So before we wrap up today, I'm very curious, how are you going to be expanding in the U.S. market? What are your goals and a little bit of your strategy? I don't want to get too much into your secret sauce, but I'm curious as to how a European company tries to expand their footprint in the United States.
Yeah. So let's start with the fact that there is no strategy. Right. Everything. All our growth so far has been organic, and yes, we do have focus, obviously, on certain areas, but we will always go with our organic growth. So the business that we do have in the States, it's not because we targeted that specifically. It's because it came to us organically.
Right.
And that's a path that we will likely keep on following. I mean, we've evolved from a revenue management company into a true hotel management company. We manage more and more properties, 100%, right? Not just revenue management, not just online marketing, not just the sales part, but the whole 9 yards. And that was the dream to start with in 2006. Now we have established that dream. We're there, but this is not the end, right? So our growth is heading towards growing in full hotel management globally. And we have coincidentally in the last couple of months been focusing a little bit more on Asia Pacific, where we signed up a bunch of deals. But again, that's a coincidence. That's not because we're focused on increasing in that area.
Right.
A year ago, we had some specific dealings in the States, in New York, actually, with investors to launch a new property over there. But these paths, they take forever, right? Purchasing a building, the construction part, or reconstruction or renovation, the pre-opening, the actual opening, it takes years. And we are involved right now in earlier and earlier stages because of what we do, and that's probably how we will continue to do business, right? Organically, instead of pushing for specific regions to grow in.
Organically and opportunistically. That's what I'm getting from you.
Yeah, and I would like to think that we create these opportunities ourselves, right? But definitely.
I think to go a little bit beyond, just management companies and stuff, just more of a life lesson. I think that the more you're out there, the more you're participating in the universe, the more opportunities will come your way. I think a lot of people say that is luck, but it's really just about being at it, and stuff will. The more you're out there, the more opportunities that will come your way. I think the luck part is recognizing what an opportunity is when it's there.
Yeah, I think so too, right? I think, for example, for you, if I can make that reference, I sure. believe that your podcast is valuable when you provide information, right? Not when you provide ads, right? If this would be an hour full of ads, there would probably not be a single listener.
That's right.
Yet, if it's an hour of information, hey, maybe your podcast is going to go through the roof, which is exactly what I do. And
speaking of going through the roof, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Red Roof.
Very well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I focus. We focus on delivering quality, on delivering information, also for people that are not necessarily asking for it to us.
Yeah.
Right. And step by step, all the quality, all the information reaches the people that we want to reach.
Excellent. All right, so wrapping up here, Remko, I'd like to end up each episode. You've done so great informing our audience and really educating them on a lot of issues out here. So you've earned the shameless plug. You get 30 seconds, talk about Xotels, anything you want.
But I've earned my shameless plug. I've got, as again, I don't have a shameless plug. Xotels, I mean, we're out there, a fast-growing management company, so...
All right, I will help you a little bit. Just find them at xotels.com. That's xotels.com. All right, is that helpful to you?
That's wonderful, Glenn.
All right, yeah, you got to get better with the plugs here, man. You got to sell yourself. But hopefully, we're going to create a little opportunity for you. I found that this conversation is really interesting. Any departing thoughts, Remko?
No, not right now. I just want to thank you for your time, Glenn. I hope the interview was useful for some of your listeners.
Yeah,
and I'd love to do it again someday.
Excellent, and thank you so much. And I hope to meet you in person if you ever get here to New York, or if I ever get back over to Europe, which I hope to do a little bit later this year. And I want to thank everyone here for listening to the show. Of course, you can find me at Traveling Glenn online. If you haven't subscribed for our show yet, what are you thinking? Go on iTunes, go on Google Play, anywhere finer podcasts are found, and also, junkie podcasts are on those sites too. What are you going to do? And just click that little button. Or if you're too lazy to do that, text the word hotel to 66866. That's the word hotel to 66866, and you get access to our Sunday night newsletter sent right to your email box. So I want to thank you all for being here, and I will be back next week unless I decide to move to the country of Georgia and stay in one of Remko's hotels. See you guys soon.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.